start with that real quick. We could talk about. We'll circle back as to how this is all part of the fascist enterprise to steal our secrets, mass surveillance, data, bro oligarchy, white Christian nationalists, white nationalists, all converging together. And ICE is their KKK and their Gestapo. I'm with
Everybody.
Mike Nellis. You know him, you love him. He does the stuff that I used to do as a masochist. He then goes on News Nation and debates Republicans.
I thought you were talking about my day job.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't have the patience anymore, because can you really debate against fascists anymore? I think it's okay to call them fascists and authoritarians and white supremacists and now straight up Nazis because they promote Nazi content. And I was telling Mike, you can't coddle fascists. I think you got to crush them legally and peacefully. And instead of debating them, you got to dismantle them. And this is where they are, folks. And this is the entirety of the Republican Party minus a Thomas Massie. And we're going to talk about Minneapolis, how it's the focal point, the battleground of the fight against fascism. And I think this is going to spread across America because ICE is going to spread across America. But part of the whole architecture of fascism, right, is mass surveillance. Another aspect that ICE is using, Palantir, they're using, you're seeing them literally take photos of people's faces. And there's another huge piece of news, which I haven't talked about because I'm dealing with, the 19 crises, but I'm glad Mike talked about. Doge admits that they stole our data and we're using it to try to rig elections. Talk to us about that story that has kind of fallen under the wayside because, crises everywhere, Mike.
Yeah, well, they're like, are you a fan of The Simpsons? Have we talked about this before?
Huge fan.
Okay. So you know that scene when Mr. Burns has all the diseases and that's why he can't die because they're all trying to push through the door? That's Donald Trump. I'm trying to just, kill us all. But none of us can die because there's so much shit going on. So a couple things here. One, I'm 100% with you on calling these people fascists. And then that's what they are. And if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. That's my line on that. And I don't understand why when you say that in the media, they're like, oh my God, you're using foul language and look at what you're doing. And I'm like, no, look at the way they use the power of the federal government. They use it to enrich themselves. They use it to go after their enemies. They use it to remove anything that can stand in their way from the crazy, horrible white supremacist, Christian fascist shit that they want to do. And I say that as a practicing Catholic, by the way, because when they think about their little Christian fascist future that they have, I'm not a part of that. Oh, we lost Wash for a second. All right. Well, I don't know. You're still there? Okay, good. But here's what's going on with Musk. So Musk takes over Doge at the beginning of the Trump term, installs all these, little bros, tech guys, whatever you want to call them. They're not kids. I hate when people call them kids. Like they're adult men. They're just 25. And a lot of them downloaded your social security numbers, your personal information, put it on their laptops, put it on thumb drives. They gave it to Republican political operatives that are using it to try to get people kicked off the voter rolls and prove fraud. And if you ask the Social Security Administration, I shot a video on this that's going up on YouTube, I think this afternoon. They don't even know what data was stolen. They don't know where it is. They don't know who's gotten it. And I think there's a broader problem here. And one thing about the Trump administration is they're not organized or smart enough as a body of people to commit the level of fascism and totalitarian takeover that they'd want. All these random acts of violence are just that. They're random acts of violence. Doesn't mean there's not a strategy behind it, but it's not, it's not Emperor Palpatine taking over the universe, but Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and the guys behind the scenes that are rigging, pulling all the strings, they're creating a whole lot of chaos to make sure that they have all the money, that they control the algorithms, that they have your personal data. And now they've got access to God knows how many social security numbers. And I worry in November, they're going to use that information to intimidate people, to kick them off the voter rolls, to prevent them from voting, and try to swing close elections in the midterms.
And also, we know that ICE has been given information about individuals. ICE has information about, individuals and immigrants and immigrant communities. We know that ICE is using Palantir's technology. Palantir, again, funded by Peter Thiel. Alex Karp is the co-founder of it. These people were all progressive until they became friggin' right-wing sociopaths. Multi-billion-dollar contract with the United States government to create a surveillance state. So when ICE sits there and just randomly goes up to people and says, hey, take a photo of your face, they're putting it in some database. So who knows who has our information, what they're doing with it, if they've sold it to anyone, which is one of those things why Doge, it did its job. It was successful. It came in, it dismantled certain agencies, took out Elon Musk's enemies, right? Took out a regulation, took So let's just be honest, stole our data. We don't know what they stole. We don't know who has it. And we don't know who they've given it to, right? Because another thing could be, Mike, is you could sell this data to, oh, I don't know, foreign governments.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't really have a ton to add there, but I am going to pivot a little bit on ICE for a second, which is there's a video today of an ICE agent taking a photo of a woman in Minneapolis who's recording her. And he goes, I just took your photo and I uploaded it to our database. And she goes, what database? And he goes, the database we have of domestic terrorists. And she, by the way, everyone should watch this video. I wish we could show video on here. She fucking laughs at him, which I think is hilarious. And I would hope in that moment that's what I would do. But like, that's what they're doing. Like, they are tracking you. And like, look, we're all carrying around phones every day. That's my empty phone case that I took out. It's not even a phone, but they're tracking us everywhere they go. And then they're just building that up. You've got CCTV out there. And I'm not one to be super paranoid, but like, your fundamental right to privacy is virtually gone in the digital age. And it's only going to get worse with AI. And it's only going to get worse with Musk having your social security number. But, you know, it's not a
Well, I
great
mean, it's
situation.
not about paranoia at all. First and foremost, like you said, they're openly admitting it. They're taking videos of themselves, taking photos of your face. We know Palantir is this multi-billion-dollar technology that was supported, let's be honest, by the establishment, both Republicans and Democrats, in the continuing war on terror. Folks, all this comes back to the war on terror, and many of us, I'm older than you, Mike, but I marched in the streets warning Americans that we're voluntarily trading our civil liberties for the feeling of safety. But this new apparatus of DHS, Patriot Act, Palantir, mass surveillance state, ICE, which was created in 2003, what would happen if this loaded gun is turned against Americans? And now the war on terror, going back to what Mike was saying, is they literally are calling us domestic terrorists, folks. This is very deliberate. This war on terror has come home. They're calling us domestic terrorists. They're saying that Renee Nicole Good, who was a murdered, unarmed white woman whose final words were, hey, I'm not mad at you, man, that she is a domestic terrorist. That's not my words. That's Kristi Noem's words. And they are engaging in wartime recruitment. That's what ICE is saying, is that this is wartime recruitment. Spend millions of dollars to recruit. They had about 12,000. They want to get up 20,000. These freaks who they're getting from deliberately from the dregs of right-wing spaces, Patriot Front, the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, all
January
these
6th, people who are pardoned, like 100%.
all these freaks who want to crack skulls because the high school varsity cheerleader never gave them a date and daddy didn't spend time with them. And these are the people now with rage. Whenever a white woman or suburban woman, any woman talks back to them, you see the rage that's built up, right? So they are now calling us domestic terrorists, which is something that we've been warning about on the left hook. And now this Gestapo has been unleashed against all of us. And the reason why, Mike, I was saying that you're not paranoid, you saw that leaked memo that came out 2 days ago, which thankfully made mainstream news, should be bigger news, but it's died, that a whistleblower said that ICE now has been instructed to ignore the Fourth Amendment, and they can now barge into homes and drag people out without a judicial warrant. Your response to that?
No, well, I mean, I think I think at any given day, we are days away from a Fourth Amendment case for the first time in like 150 years in American history, which is just going to be crazy to just have to watch that happen when it's something that's so settled, and then worry that Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett and the rest of them are just going to not rule the way that they should, in the way that the founders intended. I want to add something, because you said something about, like, you said you were a little bit older than me, which I take as a compliment. But you know, I was out there protesting too, because when I was 16, I was out there protesting the Iraq War, and the AUMF and all this Patriot Act and all this stupid shit that they were doing.
Authorization to use military force, for those who don't know.
Yes, the authorization. Yeah, it's basically why we can, do drone strikes in Yemen and why we can blow up boats in the Caribbean. And I talk about this a lot on Endless Urgency, is we gave an extraordinary amount of power to the executive under George W. Bush after 9/11 in an attempt to keep us safe. And like, I could spend all day telling you why I was pissed about it then, but I want to talk about why I'm pissed about it now. Because when Barack Obama was president of the United States, nobody in the Democratic Party really, for the most part, had any problem with drone strikes in Yemen and no problem with anywhere else. And by the way, I'm not attacking Obama. Great fucking president overall. 9 out of 10, in my opinion. I got a couple nitpicks. This is one of them that I think is important. So we didn't roll back the AUMF. Now Donald Trump is president of the United States, who none of us on this Substack trust. And he goes, I'm going to blow up some boats in the Caribbean. And a lot of you might go, oh, I don't love that because I hate Trump, but that's a little dangerous. Now it's too close to home. Now he starts talking about blowing up drug dealers in Mexico and taking out targets in Cuba with no congressional authorization. The natural evolution of that is somebody, maybe him, maybe somebody else, goes, I'm going to go blow up a mobile meth lab in New Mexico because I want to take out meth labs. And I'm going to go get Jesse Pinkman and Walter White. Okay. And you go, all right, well, they're drug dealers, like whatever, not a big deal. And then suddenly they're going to come after people like you and I. And they're going to go, Mike Nellis is a domestic terrorist. He goes on the internet to spread his falsehoods. And then I got a drone strike over my house and me, my wife, my kid are dead. Now, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, shoot.
I can hear you.
Sorry, sorry about that. I don't know if
you're
you
back.
lost me.
You're back.
You
You're
can hear
back.
me? Okay. Yeah. And I'm not sitting here thinking. So I'm not sitting here thinking that there's a drone like sitting over my house right now, but either this guy or the next worst guy is going to come in and expand this power. And so when Democrats take back office in 26 and in 28, I think one of the first things we need to do, one of the first things is repeal or reform the AUMF. Because I'm all for taking out terrorists and keeping the American people safe, but there's got to be some fucking frameworks to prevent it from being used on us. And we're seeing that with ICE right now. Because ICE was a well-intentioned thing in 2003 to help with immigration enforcement. I don't think it's necessary now in the way that it's been constructed, and we're going to have to, at minimum, fire thousands of unqualified agents and form the entire organization, if not just blow it up and merge it with another federal law enforcement agency. But like, this is bad. It's bad, and it scares the hell out of me.
And since we're connecting the dots, let's go there. I'll give Obama 7 out of 10. I'll tell you why 7 out of 10, even though he was a very good president compared to George W. Bush. Number one, I criticize his extrajudicial assassination of American citizens abroad, even though they were terrible. And he said, hey, I can do it. And once he killed Anwar al-Awlaki, who, is a terrorist and al-Qaeda sympathizer, but he also killed his teenage son, and no one said anything. Also, deportations. Let's not forget the Democratic establishment, along with Republicans, was perfectly fine. Deport. Why? Because the Democrats never want to be seen weak on domestic terrorism or international terrorism or crime. So they always do Republican light on immigration and on crime, which is why we have so many black and brown bodies in prison. Let's be honest. And also bailouts. We got to bail them out. Come on, they're too big to fail. And this type of lack of accountability and this type of lack of internal house cleaning has allowed this entire military-industrial complex to just become this bloated carcass, which is now literally being turned against Americans in Minnesota. You're seeing it in real time, right? People don't like admitting this, folks. Democrats and Republicans supported Palantir. Democrats and Republicans supported the war on terror. Democrats and Republicans supported funding ICE. Democrats and Republicans were perfectly fine inflating the military-industrial complex. Democrats and Republicans, folks, gave money to, wait for it, the Silicon Valley tech bros who are apparently all about progressive utopia, but now have turned into techno-fascists. And they're openly telling you about their techno-fascist utopia, right? This is all connected. Now you get to Venezuela. I'm glad Mike brought it up because we've been bringing it up on the left hook. We've been warning people, you should care about what's happening with these Venezuelan fishermen, over 100, who, by the way, I'm going to use the word, been murdered by the Trump administration without due process, because the president, Donald Trump, is saying he can unilaterally declare anyone a terrorist. And then Republicans said, yeah, we'll give him a green light to kill these Venezuelan fishermen, whom he has called terrorists, unilaterally, without due process. And then furthermore, Pam Bondi and others said, we're going to do to American domestic terrorists, and she used the word Antifa in September, what we've done to these Venezuelan terrorists. And what Stephen Miller has been saying since the summer is, we have to go against the drug dealers and the drug traffickers and these immigrants who are invading us. And they connected the unlawful extrajudicial assassination murder of these Venezuelans and drug traffickers to the crackdown against immigrants in the summer, unleashing ICE in LA, then Chicago. And now, voila, it has gone from drug traffickers to pedophiles to Antifa, to Renee Nicole Good. And this is why I think it's all connected, and which is why we need that cleaning of the house, Mike. And with that cleaning of the house, I'm now, perhaps, I don't know, I haven't talked to you in a month, but I have my litmus test, which I'll share with you in a bit. But your response to seeing the 7 Democrats who gave the necessary votes to Republicans to give annual billions of dollars of funding to ICE and DHS yesterday.
Yeah, I want to address that. I want to add one more thing on this, because I am begging Democratic leaders, and I'm begging really all politicians, to, when they're writing any law or putting any policy framework together, to think about what would happen if the worst possible human fucking being is in the Oval Office and running.
That's right.
And by the way, if you think Donald Trump is the worst possible human being that could get elected president, you are wrong. There are leagues worse than Donald Trump. And in my opinion, we're actually fucking lucky how vain and stupid he is and how he's surrounded himself with the dumbest type of people, because a smarter, savvier politician who ran the same gambit than him, maybe wouldn't have run the same gambit as him, would be able to consolidate power better, quicker, faster, and wouldn't have completely alienated the military. Because if you want to see a Christian fascist dictatorship, you need military support. And man, I've watched them piss off every member of the military that they could. And that was helpful. That Hegseth speech from last year was like a godsend to stop what they were trying to do, frankly, even though it was ridiculous. On the 7 Democrats who voted here, like, one, there's a lot of horse trading in Washington. So like that thing was always going to pass, even with or without the 7 Democrats. Now I understand why people are mad. I have a very, because I'm a Democratic strategist and my job is to build a House majority and a Senate majority, I tend to follow a lot of, again, I'm not defending Akeem on this because I know that they didn't whip votes, but like when Jared Golden votes for that, that's an R+10 district. So very likely ICE is still popular there, and that's in his best interest to get reelected. And I would rather have him in the House than not have him in the House, voting with us 85% of the time. I absolutely do not agree with the vote. And Bullfrog down here is saying Jared Golden needs to be primaried. Golden isn't running for reelection. And
which makes it worse because he's retiring.
But I mean, again, I think in his mind, he wants to run for governor. So he's doing that for the state, which again, I disagree with it. But let's say Golden was running for reelection. If we primaried him and he lost that primary, we're losing that district. Very likely he's the only one who can hold an R+10 district. And it's like the Joe Manchin problem. It's like, I hated Joe Manchin. That guy fucking drove me crazy all the time and took a ton of votes that pissed me off. But I'd rather have him in the United States Senate right now because I'd be one Senate seat closer to having the majority. And I frame it to people this way. The difference between having Joe Manchin and not having Joe Manchin is Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense right now. Because when we really needed him, he would be there. And so, again, not defending the vote. It's a shitty vote. I hated it. I am mad at the 7 Democrats, but I understand in the context of them trying to figure out their re-elections, I get it. And I know that that's the kind of take that gets me yelled at on the internet, but there's an activist side of things when people are fighting stuff, and I'm with you on all of that. But then there's a cold hard electoral math situation. And it's hard. And as people mentioned Sinema, and I worked for Sinema for a long time. She drove me nuts too. But she was the first Democrat to win statewide in a very long time in Arizona. I think in almost 60 years. Now Arizona moved further blue, and so upgrading her from Sinema to Ruben Gallego, massive difference. But you can't do that in West Virginia. Joe Manchin is probably the best case scenario for us in West Virginia, and so. Same thing with Golden in Maine 2nd Congressional District. It's R+10. The difference is Paul LePage. That's I'd rather have Golden pissing me off 20% of the time than LePage pissing me off 100% of the time.
So this is where I will push back and I will try to bring your activist side to meet your strategist side. I understand how your strategist brain is working, but I think that strategist brain is not going to help the Democratic Party because people are not going to forget this. This is seen as the Vichy Democrats who are going along with business as usual. Those 7 Democrats, including Cuellar and others who were promoted by the establishment and who have a track record of throwing the progressive wing under the bus. What we've been told is, listen, I understand this the strategy. Lesser of two evils. Would you rather have this or that? And I think most Americans are now, I'm done with crumbs. If these are my two options, I'm going to sit out, which is what happened in 2024. 18 million Democratic voters sat out. You're going to radicalize them to either not vote or, going back to your earlier point, if it's business as usual, what we're going to get in 2032, assuming we have 2028 and 2026 elections, because Donald Trump has already said that he wants to do Insurrection Act, which is a precursor to martial law, we're going to get our first American, first Nazi president. In the last 10 years, what we've seen is
our first openly Nazi president.
A counter-establishment, counter-institutionalist type of narrative. Now, it's all bullshit. Donald Trump is as establishment as it gets, but that's what he ran on, and that's what people said. Yes, Bernie Sanders. A lot of people voted for Donald Trump, said, I would vote for Bernie Sanders. A lot of people voted for Donald Trump, also voted for AOC. A lot of people who voted for Donald Trump also voted for Mamdani. What did the Democratic establishment do? We don't have to go that far back. We could go back to yesterday with the 7 Democrats who literally told Americans, we will fund ICE that will continue terrorizing communities. Jared Golden of Maine, ICE is about to terrorize Maine. It's already there, right? They said, we don't care. We have our corporate donors. We have the establishment. This is what our funding says. We're a bit scared, so we're going to run timid. And instead, you got people like Mamdani saying, F you. like in a nice way, abolish ICE. He got an applause on view and he messaged accordingly. I think that type of your strategy, which logically might make sense, no longer works moving forward. I think what I'm going to say, because I know this is your job as a Democratic strategist, if Democrats want to galvanize the people, and especially if a Democrat wants to win big, you have 6 months right now, and I think it's up to the people in the primary season, Mike, to pressure these elected officials to bend to where they are. And I've seen a shift where I'm going to give a positive example now. Abigail Spanberger, she's here in Virginia where I am. Super centrist. I was not at all excited about her whatsoever. I'm like, all right, CIA, super centrist. She was talking like the folks you were talking about right now, the 7 who voted, right? She sees where the wind is blowing. She wins by a double-digit victory. She looks at the polls. She comes in with a mandate. What does she do, Mike? She flexes. She goes, all right, we're not going to support ICE. All right, all you Republican hacks on the boards, I'm going to remove you. Here we go. This is where the wind is blowing. So I feel what you just said is the Democratic establishment is telling us without telling us, we have you in a headlock. It's either us or Trump, bitch. What are you going to do? You're going to take the Cuellar.
That's not what I'm saying, but yeah.
But you're going to take Cuellar. You're going to take Jared Golden. You're going to take Manchin, and you're going to like it, mother effer.
Can I jump in? I want to jump in with my response. By the way,
no. I say I'm not going to take it, and I'm not going to like it.
Right.
Your retort.
Yeah, I'm not. So one, I have to go at the 30-minute mark, so I wanted to flag that because I just have another hit that I have to do.
Yeah.
Because we could talk about this for hours. So frankly, I think you and I should do a weekly thing where we just argue about this because I love fucking arguing about this stuff. So here's the thing. It's not, at least for me, okay, I won't say what Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are telling you, but like for me, it's not me going, let me shove this down your throat and like we can't do any better. It's that I have the math, okay? And like, this is like the conversation around abolishing ICE this week, where there's the one poll that shows that 51% of Americans support abolishing ICE. If 51% support it, I wish that we were governed by 51% of the country, because Hillary Clinton would have been president in 2016 when she beat Trump. But we're not. We're governed by the median voter in a handful of battleground places. And all due respect to the left, I've worked with a ton of people on the left. I worked for Bernie Sanders in 2016. I didn't work for Hillary Clinton. I worked for Michelle Wu. I've worked for a bunch of other people. I also worked for establishment candidates. The left does not have a major signature electoral accomplishment in my 2 decades of doing this. And the biggest electoral accomplishment for the left, in my opinion, was John Fetterman. Okay. And that is not one that they hang their hats on now. So I think if the left wants to prove that we don't need to accept Jared Golden or we don't need to accept Henry Cuellar, then they need to go win a race where
That's
it's
what I'm
R
saying.
plus 10. Right. They need to go win a race in an R plus 10 district. And like I had this conversation with Seng from the Young Turks, go fucking prove me wrong. But right now, the only evidence that I have, and if you look at the math on this, like Justice Democrats candidates and more progressive candidates dramatically underperform a more moderate candidate in a battleground district. And even when you smooth it out for money, they still underperform. So there's something going on there in those districts. And I want people to think about it like this. Jared Golden represents a district that's about as conservative as the state of Texas. So he's pushing a sled up the hill. Abigail Spanberger, who's kicking ass, and I love the way she's using power right now, and I want the next Democratic president to use power that way. She's in a D+6 state. That's far more liberal. Now, she took over for a Republican president, or a Republican governor, excuse me, but like that's the reality. So what I say to the left is I want you guys to succeed for the most part. I agree with you probably on 80, 90% of a lot of the stuff we want to do, particularly on economic populism. You got to win. You got to build the infrastructure. You got to win. You got to stop complaining about the refs. You got to stop blaming the DNC for everything. And people should go watch. I had like an hour-long conversation with Cenk from the Young Turks, where that was my message. It's like, stop blaming everybody for, and you're not doing this necessarily. I'm not saying it to you. It's just that I worked on Bernie in 2016. The number of people I have heard who have told me that the DNC screwed Bernie in 2016 is ridiculous. Like Hillary Clinton won, we lost. And I think a lot of people who don't want to admit that they lose to the establishment that's better at winning elections, and there's institutional reasons for that, which is like money, power, access to stuff, influence in the media. That's all real. You got to go overcome that. And like Jay Davis down here is talking about Mamdani winning, and like Mamdani's victory is fucking incredible. And I have a ton of respect for him. And I'm very excited about what he's doing. I watched him on The View the other day. I thought he was awesome talking about childcare in particular. But Mamdani winning in New York City against the worst possible establishment candidate in Andrew Cuomo, who ran a terrible, shitty campaign in a ranked choice voting election with public financing, is not the same as winning a battleground district in Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, which is the bellwether, in my opinion, House district that we have to flip in this election. So there's just differences in that. And I think it can be done, but you got to go prove it. And not you specifically. It's like the left has to go prove that. And I just haven't seen it. The same thing with like people that vote for AOC and Trump. I love AOC. I think she's an incredible legislator, an incredible communicator. And if somebody with her politics was going to win, they would be as talented as AOC. So, like, I think she could do very well in 2028, but you can't replicate that necessarily in 435 congressional districts, or at least the 25 that you need to win. Does that make
So
sense from at least my POV?
I know you have 5 minutes, so I'm going to retort.
Yeah.
I believe the DNC has to prove it. The DNC has failed. They gave us Kamala Harris with her platform, bear hugging, making love to Liz Cheney, with David Plouffe coming in, and they failed. They gave us Hillary Clinton in 2016. We voted for her, but they failed. The DNC now has chosen not to.
Can I push back on one thing, though? The DNC didn't give you Hillary Clinton. The Democratic primary voters gave you Hillary Clinton.
I agree.
Like,
I agree. Look,
yeah.
I support it. Like, I'm with you. When it comes to lesser of two evils, I said vote for Clinton, vote for Harris, vote for Biden. You've seen me. I've always said it. But
Yeah.
the way they did Bernie a little bit wrong, that sour taste is there. They never gave him a shot. And I agree with you. There was no conspiracy. She won fair and square. But that tension was explored in 2016, right? Then you see Mamdani. They threw everything and the kitchen sink and a Bill Clinton and a Clyburn and a Larry Summers against Mamdani for Chris Cuomo. Right now,
Yep.
Donald Trump has publicly embraced Mamdani more than Schumer, Gillibrand, and also Jeffries. This is not lost on people. The DNC chair, Ken Martin, promised to release the audit. He hasn't. And so what they're
which I think
telling
was
us
a
now,
mistake, and I spoke out about that. Like, I think that was wrong.
and so it goes back to my thesis. Even though our brand is more toxic right now than Donald Trump, he is so abysmally bad, to your point. We're seeing these special elections. The economy is so terrible. He's negative double digits on everything. He's overreached. We don't have to promise reform. We don't have to message. We don't have to message with a type of bold spirit that can lead people this way. I could be Gavin Newsom last month, ignore all the polls, and openly say, I'm not going to tax the wealthy. They're part of the big tent. I could be Gavin Newsom last week, have Ben Shapiro on my show and say, Israel's not committing a genocide. I could be Gavin Newsom last week, have Ben Shapiro on my show and say, you're right. My two social media mavens who everyone loves, it's not Gavin Newsom, it's him. They shouldn't have said state-sponsored terrorism. And I want to remind people that Mamdani won despite that. And I also want to remind people, Obama won. I'm old enough to remember. It was Hillary Clinton. The establishment said it's Hillary Clinton. Obama came out of nowhere, messaged accordingly, led the people. They said, oh, we have another choice. He won primary after. You saw it. I saw that. State after state.
But again,
and
I think
that's what's going to win. I think the model you're saying right now is a dangerous, outdated model that does not reflect people's rage and where we're going to be in 6 months. You have 3 months. I'll give you the final word.
Maybe. And I hope that that's true, because I'd like the window to move further so that we can move in that direction. But like, I still think the way that, and again, I say the left to the extent that the left exists. I feel this way about the establishment too. The establishment doesn't exist the way that people talk about it is. It's always a loose collection of interests. But like, there's a comment down here from Non-Aware's Boots, like, the super delegates gave us Hillary Clinton. Well, no, if you remove the super delegates, Hillary Clinton is still the nominee, and she got more votes than Bernie Sanders did. Now, again, I wanted Bernie to be the candidate. I worked for Bernie in 2016. I wanted it to be that. So like, it's a hard thing for me to swallow. I think he would have been a better president than Hillary Clinton, and certainly better than Trump. But we lost. Like, we just lost. And like Obama, people talk about Obama as an anti-establishment candidate now, sort of smoothing it out over time. But Obama was also an establishment candidate. It was just a different way of the establishment. And like, the original sin, in my opinion, for 2016 and 2024 was not necessarily who we nominated, but by not having a nominating contest. Hillary Clinton pushed so many people out of that primary because they were afraid to run against her, because Obama made that deal that said, I'm going to back you and help you and all that, because they made their deal in 2008. And because of that, she didn't get to run a full primary campaign. She was surprised by Bernie Sanders. Like, the truth is, what we accomplished for Bernie, and when I say we, I was a low-level guy. I was not like the guy. But
very
like,
impressive.
Yeah, I mean, but I was like down on the totem pole. I was like signing off on fundraising emails. Like, but to be clear, it's like what they accomplished was so impressive, but it only happened because nobody else ran. And the 2 times we lost to Trump were when we didn't have full, vibrant primaries to build better campaigns and develop better talent and staff all across the board. Kamala Harris, same thing. Kamala Harris got fucked with a 107-day campaign because Biden didn't walk away. We should have had a full primary.
Absolutely.
And either Kamala would have risen to the occasion and been the candidate, or somebody else would have. So in this next primary, I want a full, vibrant primary. I want fair, transparent rules. I want little bullshit as possible. And I want the Democratic primary voters to pick who the nominee is. I hope it's not Gavin Newsom. That is not my flavor of Democrat. And I think he gets killed in the general election. But I want that. And if it's AOC, great. I'll run through the fucking tape for AOC. I will. I'll run through the tape for almost all of them. So Gavin Newsom, I might gently jog to the finish line with him. But
and Mike, I'll just say this: they did that to Mamdani in front of our faces. It happened literally 3 months ago. I believe that we're witnessing right now primaries. We have 6 months. Now's the moment. I think you and I will agree. People, come out in the streets, use your voices, use your votes, get the candidates that you believe you deserve, the fighters we deserve. We no longer need crumbs. What Mike said strategically makes sense. Why you have a Jared Golden, why you have the Cuellar. I still believe the Democratic establishment, and I'm using that not as a pejorative, but I'm talking about the establishment, the leadership, the donors, is misreading the moment. I think they've misread it for 10 years. And I think their strategy of appeasement,
I have to
slow
dip.
walking.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
buddy.
take care,
I
man.
want to argue about this
Later.
forever.
Peace out. Peace out.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mike.
everybody.
I'm going to promote you. I think that type of strategy is a failing strategy. So you see with Mike, he's no longer here. We'll bring him back. The activist Mike gets it, but he's also a Democratic strategist. The Democratic strategist it says, "Hey, man, plus 10 district, plus 5 district. What can we do? Would you rather want us, or would you rather want them some crazy right-wing psychopath, right?" I get that. Logically, it makes sense. However, it goes back to my original thesis, this is the Democratic establishment putting us in a headlock, right? Well, it's either this or it's Trump. And I'll tell you all, this is why I feel very strongly about this. In 2024, Kamala Harris, I'm telling you, you all heard this. You didn't hear me. We kept saying to push Democrats to listen to the base, to help them win. You cannot ignore the genocide in Gaza. Shut up, darky. Shut up, activist. Shut up, Palestinian. No, folks. Listen, your base cares about what's happening. This entire generation has been radicalized. They're seeing our money go to kill Palestinian babies. You have to, at the bare minimum, bring a Palestinian mother next to a Jewish mother. You have a Jewish mother at the DNC? Fantastic. She, Rose Goldberg Poland, whose son unfortunately was killed and was taken hostage, right? Just bring a Palestinian mom. You have the Jewish mom, Palestinian mom. Amazing. The bar is so low, it's in hell. You know what they told us? All of us. I'm not talking about this, all of us. No. And you know what they said? What are you going to do? You're going to vote for Donald Trump? No, you're not. You're going to go vote for us. So shut up. We're going to go barehead Liz Cheney. And what happened? YouGov poll came out. I was not shocked at all. About 2 months after the election. Number one reason why Democrats stayed home: Gaza. Now, that doesn't mean if they had platformed on this and ran aggressively on this, they would have won. But instead of losing by 1.5 points, maybe 1 point. And not only that, they would not have alienated and radicalized so many Democratic voters away from it. Now, Mike kind of alluded to it. He voted for Bernie. And, I supported him too. But it was kind of the Democratic establishment. I'm not in conspiracy theories. They did the primary, right? But there was no real choice, right? They're like, no, this is Hillary Clinton's. What do you mean? No, this is ours. What are you going to vote for, Bert? No, shut up. Go away, you lefties, the left. And when Mike says the left, what are you talking about? Yeah, the majority of Americans are the left. Look at the polls. Like the left is some pejorative. Like the left is used as some slimy word. Why? That's how the Democratic establishment sees the rest of us. You, the left. If you're not the left, why the F are you a Democrat? Why are you embarrassed by the words the left, liberal, or progressive? You never see Republicans being embarrassed by conservative or right wing ever. They embrace it. But the Democrats are just terrified of the word the left. This is where majority is. Look at the latest polls. You think I'm crazy. Came out yesterday, New York Times Siena poll. This was taken last week. ICE is negative 27. Negative 27. Now imagine if you messaged. This is why people have leaders. It's up to a leader to message. Remember Obama message on hope, change, right? Donald Trump message on MAGA, make America great again. Republicans message all the time with their right-wing ecosystem, I need Greenland, give me Greenland. Now, even though the overwhelming majority of Americans are against militarily taking Greenland, in 1 month, the Republican base is like, all right, let's take Greenland. So you need leaders willing to message accordingly. Mamdani messaged. He led. He saw all the polls. I interviewed him last year. You all know this if you watch The Left Hook. He went 10 toes down, win or lose. I'm a distant number 2. This is what I stand for. He's not going to win. That's impossible. No way. Democratic socialist. He's not kissing Israel's ass. He says we don't need billionaires, but he'll work with them. Free buses. Shut your mouth. We have to win. We have to win. Take a Henry Cuellar. Take a Jared Golden. Take a Chris Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo. Sorry, Chris Cuomo is the one who direct messages me and threatens me. Folks. Literally in the last 3 months, this is what they said. This was their thinking. And the people said, nah, we'll go with Mamdani. They threw everything against Mamdani. Even now they attack Mamdani. So I say we deserve better, we demand better, and we should ask for more. What they're telling you is, hey man, plus 10 district. Hey man, Heartland is there. White Americans, conservatives. They even look down on us. You liberals. What the F? You're the Democratic Party. Are you embarrassed by the word liberal? Tell us that. And then why the F am I voting for that person? Look at our what we stand for. Very popular. Tax the rich, gun control, abolish, dismantle against ICE. Now that number is at 51. That number has gone up to 54. Imagine if you messaged. Imagine top down. We rallied, abolish ICE, and you use Renee Nicole Good. I guarantee you that number is going to go to 60, especially as ICE continues its terrorist campaign. They're afraid to even say that. Hakeem Jeffries came out and apparently, according to Axios, the scoop was, and he probably released that scoop, that I'm not going to vote for the Democrat to support ICE, the spending bill. But American Prospect came out with another source. He wouldn't whip the votes for it. That's not leadership. That's not leadership. They also said, the Democratic establishment last year, fight the oligarchy. We tested it. Our corporate consultants, we polled, and it's not popular. All right, Bernie and AOC, regardless of what you think about them, they said, all right, we're going to go on the road. We're going to test this message. We're going to lead. We're going to connect the dots. Huge hit. All these white voters, conservative white voters, because that's what they care about. They will drop kick me, and they will elbow me, drop kick Danielle to go bear hug a Liz Cheney. I'm telling you, that's what they want. Right? They love these Midwestern white voters who will never vote for them, and they will do anything and everything to appease them instead of black voters who will actually be there bleeding for them. But I digress. They went to these white real American voters and they sold them on fight the oligarchy, right? And guess what happened? People are like, fight. Yeah, you're right. The 1%. Yeah, fight the oligarchy. F these billionaires. Huge hit. You have to lead. You have to stand for something. You have to message. People are malleable. People can change. I'll give you an example. Donald Trump's overreach and bigotry against immigrants has made immigrants great again. Gallup, according to its latest poll, says, wow, man, this is the highest favorability rating America has of immigrants. Do you see that, folks? What these people do is they refuse to lead. They don't stand for anything. And instead, their corporate consultants and donors give them data, and they look at the data. You just saw it. It's only 51%. Got to give up. Can't fight, can't message. Got to give up. Sorry. We're going to go fund ICE, even though it's going to terrorize my state. So I'm of the opinion, I see where Mike is coming from. That's why I tried to be, logically, I understand where he's coming from. I get it. I just think that model, that strategic thinking has failed. You watch sports, I watch sports. It's, you're winning, and then the other team comes up and gets a faster, stronger defense. I'm going to do my prevent defense. Your prevent defense isn't working. This time it'll work. No, it's not. Inshallah, it'll work. No, it won't. Inshallah, it'll work. It won't work. Didn't work in 2016. It only worked in 2020 because of once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, let's be honest. It didn't work in 2024. They're still going to try in 2028 if we have elections. I'm telling y'all. They're not going to change the wheel. They believe that we will sit there and take it. I don't think so. Someone said you and Mike are kind of alike. I don't disagree. Like, you see what I'm saying? I just wanted him to reorient. You reorient it. That's all. You're playing with a 2016 strategy. People are ready for that type of change. You have to message on it. People are ready for a reformation. People are ready for a fight. You can move them. You can move them. They'll come out. Same thing happened on the flip side. Republicans, 2014. Our data shows us this. our data shows that we'll have Eric Cantor. Eric Cantor is going to be the future, and Kevin McCarthy and Paul Ryan, the nice, attractive, handsome, white, good haircut type of Republican who runs with the dog whistles. What did the base say? Nah. And then you had the Tea Party revolution. All the experts, I'm old enough to remember 2015, 2016. There's no way Donald Trump will win. Donald Trump said, I don't care. I'm a creature of appetite. I have verbal diarrhea. I'm corrupt as F. I grab women by the P. I take what I want. And the base was like, that's our guy. And he won. And I believe on the flip side, a majority of Americans want a fighter. They want a fighter. This Democratic establishment isn't built. That's why I keep saying, man, they're not made for this. They're not built for this fight. They're not made for this moment. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi, for your service. Goodbye. I really mean that. Thank you for your service. You did amazing things. You're not the fighter for this moment. Chuck Schumer, you're not the fighter for this moment. Hakeem Jeffries, you're not the fighter for this moment. Gillibrand, you're not the fighter for this moment. That's what I'm saying. There's a fundamental misreading of where America is. And I believe, and if I'm wrong, whenever I'm wrong, I always admit I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll eat halal crow. Okay. I think we need fighters. And I think, Gavin Newsom's waltzing as the great white knight. He's already been appointed and he thinks he can just take it. I don't think he will. I think if indeed we have free and fair elections, if we do, someone who is a quote unquote outsider, like a Mamdani-esque figure, I'm saying Obama was establishment, but I'm saying at the time, folks, I have a memory. Oh boy. During the primary season, you thought Republicans were disgusting against him. You thought they were racist. Do you all remember how Hillary Clinton and the DNC tried to destroy him? I remember. I'll take him at his word. He says he's not Muslim. I'll take him at his word. That's what the Democrats said, along with the Republicans. They went all out as he was gaining momentum. And then it was really neck and neck. And at the last second, you all remember this? Yeah. At the last second, he pulled through. Hope and change, because we were in an economic crisis. Katrina, war and terror had failed. So it was milquetoast center-left change within the establishment, but nonetheless change. Country has shifted, man. Climate change, violent insurrection, Nazi symbols, measles, friggin' once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, billionaires becoming trillionaires. They've misread the moment. That's my take, folks. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me. I feel very strongly about it. I'd love to have Mike on. We were going to talk about the resistance, and we were going to talk about how it's got to be all hands on deck. But then Mike put on his Democratic strategist cap, which is also good. I'm glad he did. He was being very sincere and authentic, and he just wants to win, right? He's like, listen, man, what Mike is saying, to give him the benefit of the doubt, is I want to win. I want what you want, but we have to win elections in order to get there. I agree with him. That being said, I don't think we need a Cuellar. I don't think we need a Golden to get there. I don't think they're the horses who will take us to the promised land. That's what I'm saying. I think we deserve better. And I think if we replace these horses with faster, stronger horses, thoroughbreds, I think we'll get there. And this is why I keep saying we deserve better fighters and we should no longer be satiated with crumbs, which is why there's a primary season. And we need to cull them immediately. I'm not a strategist. This is why, folks, I don't do vote blue no matter who. This is why I push back against Democrats. I'm 45 years old. I've been hijacked by the Democratic Party for too long. I've been sold on inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. You've always seen me try to make the smart strategic decision when it came between Kamala and Trump, despite the genocide. I talked about the genocide and I told people, still you vote for Kamala. Even though Bernie was the one I thought could have defeated Trump and I liked his ideas, I said, Hillary Clinton. Biden, I said, white America, you tell me what old white guy you want. All right, you pick Biden instead of Bernie. Great, fine. Biden. But I'm saying we deserve better. And I'm also saying, and I'm warning y'all, is they're going to play the same playbook. Inshallah, if we have elections, I don't know if we will. In 2026, 2028, you're going to get a milquetoast Gavin Newsom who's going to go for restoration. It'll be inshallah politics. If you don't believe me, I give you the vote yesterday. If you don't believe me, I give you them trying to destroy Mamdani. If you don't believe me, I give you them caving on the government shutdown. It'll be inshallah politics. AI and crypto are going to fail. Just like we're going to have another economic crisis. It's inevitable. What we're going to be told is they're too big to fail. And all their billionaire donors are going to give us some crumbs and incremental change. Everything's going to go shitty. because it will, because income inequality is going to increase, climate change, chaos. There's going to be no accountability. And you're going to get your first Nazi president in 2032. You're going to get your first America First president. And it'll match what happened in 1930s Germany. I hope I'm wrong. Just look at the trends, connect the dots. That's my take. If you agree with me, disagree with me, let me know in your comments. Newsom is opening the door. He gives you crumbs. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he says when he's given a softball down the middle about taxing the rich, which is broadly popular across the board. He said no. Listen to what he said about genocide. Just last week, he disagreed that it was genocide. Even knowing the YouGov poll, even though knowing the genocide was the reason why most Democrats, Buttigieg, I don't have faith in Buttigieg. Buttigieg, yes, he's a gay man, but he's always run towards whiteness, white centrism. He has a silver tongue. You want to know the one time that Booker, Gavin Newsom, and Pete Buttigieg completely flubbed during a live interview? Israel. Buttigieg tampers what could be that type of progressive gay candidate through his whiteness. He's very good. Yes, it's good to have him in the tent. I do not think he's the man. He is part and parcel of the establishment. I don't think he's the guy. Then who is the guy? You have 2 years. Mamdani came out of nowhere, folks. AOC came out of nowhere. Bernie, in a way, came out of nowhere, even though he's been there. And you got 2 years for people to change. Politicians, I don't care. I don't know what's in their heart. They're just a tool. I don't worship them. Just do the. Ideally, I want you to be sincere and honest, authentic fighter. I think it'll reflect in your policies, but they're all pieces of shit for the most part, right? I'm just keeping it real, folks. I'm in DC, Virginia. They want money, they want votes, they want power. And they forget that they're public servants. They signed up to be a public servant. They're not gods. They're not kings. They're owed nothing. So my take on this is, all right, act and or pretend like you're a fighter, you will be rewarded. So Abigail Spanberger, all of a sudden, becoming a fighter. She was super centrist. She was like a Cuellar type of, super down the road, middle, centrist, white, CIA type person. And now she sees where the wind is blowing and she has power. She's flexing. I give her credit. Chris Murphy, if he flexes, wonderful. Van Hollen, he might be too old, but man, a person who's been morally consistent, Van Hollen. Respect to Van Hollen. Been more AOC, morally consistent. Bernie, I think it's too old for him, but and listen, last year, Mamdani, no way. Impossible. Mamdani was videotaping himself, begging people to speak to him, and now he's the mayor. Okay? So don't think this is inevitable. Don't limit your imagination. Don't limit your choices. Don't think that just because you're told that Gavin Newsom is the great white hope, you have to accept it. Why does he have to be a white male? Why does it have to be a he? Why? Obama won. Just saying, folks. We deserve better. That's all I'm saying is we deserve better. And this is a primary season right now. And yes, R. Moody says, a Democrat who embraces your 5 litmus tests. For those who didn't join us, I've shared my litmus test earlier today, and I think yesterday also. This is my litmus test. It's not all the issues, but I have a litmus test. I'm using the L word. This is my litmus test. If a Democrat running for higher office does not have this litmus test, it's the lesser of two evils, sure, but I don't have faith in them. My litmus test, for those who don't know. Number one, I'm listening to what you're saying. I know you got the memo about affordability. Not enough for me. I need you to fight for affordability and accountability. That's the key one, accountability. If you're not going to fight for affordability and accountability, that shows me that you're not going to have actual reform. You're not going to reform the system. You're not going to tax the billionaires. You're not going to hold ICE accountable. You're not going to impeach Kristi Noem. You're not going to have prosecutions. I need affordability and accountability. Mike said, that was fun. We should schedule something regularly so you can tell me why I'm wrong more often. Smiley face. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So that's number one, affordability and accountability. Number two, in no specific order, abolish ICE. You don't like the word abolish? Dismantle ICE, right? Tear down ICE. That's what Ruben Gallego, another centrist, said. ICE is negative 27. All right? Number three, and by the way, more and more people are going to come out against ICE, especially white people. If you messaged, I guarantee you that number will get to 60 by next week. Number three, go against the oligarchy. Tax the wealthy. Give me something. Tax the wealthy, You win over independents, a lot of Republicans and Democrats, and it shows me you're going against the oligarchy. You've identified the number one supervillain, the 1%. You're unwilling to do that. You're not my guy, Gavin Newsom. Giving a softball down the middle, and you said, taxing the wealthy, they're part of the big tent. No, they're not. No, they're not. Number 4, you are saying that you will fight fascism at home? Huh. And yet you support a genocide abroad. You're perfectly fine with Israel's occupation and genocide, and you're in bed with AIPAC? Nah, you're not going to fight fascists at home, and you're not even going to fight fascists abroad. You'll be fine with Israel and Saudi Arabia and whatever fascist government comes along. I'm done with you. And 5, finally, I'm going to pay real quick attention to who you're willing to throw under the bus. I heard you, Gavin Newsom, last year when you invited Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon as your first 2 guests on your podcast, and where you agreed with them. And you throw trans kids under the bus. You threw the homeless under the bus. I saw you Democrats who voted for the Lake and Riley Act. You voted undocumented immigrants under the bus. I saw you Democrats who kept quiet as ICE was doing their dress rehearsal with pro-Palestinian activists like Mahmoud Khalil and Rameza Ozturk, and with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the 230 brown men they kidnapped. I saw that. I saw how you kept quiet as they're attacking Muslims in Ilhan Omar right now, literally not censuring Randy Fine or Tommy Tuberville. So that shows me if you're willing to throw trans kids under the bus, Palestinians under the bus, Venezuelans under the bus, Somalians under the bus, undocumented immigrants under the bus, Muslims under the bus, you're willing to throw anybody under the bus. And that's why I won't support you, because I don't trust you. Because today you're throwing the trans under the bus. Tomorrow you will throw me under the bus. It's either all of us or none of us. Affordability for all, accountability for all, Democrat or Republican. If you find out that there was some Democrat raping kids in the Epstein files, I need to know you're going to prosecute him. If you're not, get the F out. Why did you invite Henry Cuellar back, even though he was pardoned by Donald Trump for accepting foreign bribes? And this man is a centrist, and you told us that, oh, he's going to win that. Same argument. Henry Cuellar is from Texas. It's a reddish district. There's no other message. And Nancy Pelosi whipped votes against Jessica Cisneros, who had a chance against Cuellar in the primary, and she was progressive Latina. Henry Cuellar, strong on border, just voted to support ICE, literally got pardoned by Donald Trump, anti-abortion. Well, we need candidates like this. I'd rather have him so he can vote for some shit, but he's against anti-abortion. He'll vote for ICE. No, miss me with that. I don't need Democrats like that. I'm sorry, I don't need Democrats like that. Right? And they invited him with open arms. No litmus test for Henry Cuellar for being anti-abortion, just voting for ICE, and literally being pardoned for accepting foreign bribes. Do you want Democrats like that? That's what they're telling you. Maybe if you threw your weight behind Cisneros, campaign for her, maybe it'd be a shot. Maybe she'd lose that race, but you'd move enough people. Then in the next race, right? Seed the ground. Message, lead. I was told last year it's impossible for Mamdani to win. He almost won by 10 points. That's my rant. That's my response to that. I feel very strongly about this. I'm done being hijacked by these people. I'm done being in service of the oligarchy. I'm done being told we should accept crumbs. And furthermore, I just see it. I see it. If we have free and fair elections, you're going to spin this wheel again. We're going to get the same old, and we're going to get our America First Nazi president in 2032. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be proven wrong. If I am wrong, I'll be very happy. Very happy. And you'll say, "Watch, retire." I'll retire. I'll go write books. I'll go write screenplays. I'll go write fiction. Something I've always wanted to do. I started off that way. Look, this is a play I published. Started off as a playwright, became an attorney, started doing commentary work, wrote a screenplay. HBO picked it up, and then they gave us terrible notes. And me and Dave Eggers like, yeah, we don't want to do that. Then somehow that fell into me doing research on Islamophobia. Then I moved here for my wife, got on TV. Never wanted to be on TV, co-hosted Al Jazeera America. Then, tried to use Facebook and Google at that time. They cared about, combating extremism. We did that with them. And then Trump won. They're like, we like extremism. Then somehow, ended up on CNN doing commentary work, then published a memoir. So I'll go do something else. I'll figure something out. I've always wanted to go back into fiction and write novels and, try my hand at that. So inshallah, that's it. You'll say, Waj, retire, go away. I'll retire, I'll go away. I'll figure something out, find a way to feed my children. But I feel very strongly about this, folks. Look in Miami. What was impossible became possible. A white woman, non-Latina, won for the first time in 30 years, Democratic mayor. And unfortunately, they're taking the wrong lesson. The Democratic establishment, is taking the wrong lesson. They're like, aha, we don't have to change. Even though our reputation is in the gutters and we have the lowest favorability rating in 30 years, they'll still vote for us. So we'll be okay getting, fed by APAC and corporate donors and the billionaires and promoting AI and crypto. Yes, we'll be fine. We don't have to do reformation. I think they're wrong. I think things are going to get far, far worse in the next 6 months. And I think it doesn't take long for people to radicalize, folks. Look at Minneapolis. Look at Minneapolis. Folks, it's 4 o'clock. I had a fantastic conversation with Francesca that there was a glitch on Substack, but they found it for us, so I'm going to publish it. We did it late last night. It's really good, where we articulate this case. I really enjoyed this back and forth with Mike Nellis. We were supposed to talk about something, but then, he put on his Democratic strategist hat. I forgot that he was a Democratic strategist. It was good. Back and forth. I'm going to continue pushing him, just like I pushed Ro Khanna. He said, why do you need to call it a genocide? I think you have to. And then finally, United Nations came out and he said, yes, it's a genocide. You got to keep pushing these people. I had a really good conversation with Danielle Moody today, Democracy-ish. And then I really strongly recommend listening to this conversation I had about an hour and a half ago with Robert Jones about the marriage between Christianity and white supremacy. And what we're seeing right now is a continuation of the white Christian supremacist project. And it was exactly tying into what happened in the 1960s. And what you're seeing right now. A lot of people don't know this history. We connect the dots, and then we also talk about why it's so important to see so many Christians and clergy and faith leaders out right now in Minnesota saying "not in our name." It's very important to have these faith leaders come out and lead these marches. MLK, faith leader, for those who forget. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully, I'll be done for the day, I should be done for the day. But let's see. Newsom. I'm from the Bay Area. I've followed his entire career. He's not the guy. There's a reason why me and Gil Duran, who's a friend of the show, are very skeptical about him. Now, if he's the guy, push him, man. Push him. He'll change with the wind. So you push him. I just feel like we deserve better. And he's walking in like the great white hope. You could just see it. It's going to be me. I don't think so. Make them sweat. Make them be afraid. Push them. Bend them. Really bend them, folks. And if you like Gavin Newsom's social media account run by 2 millennials, you like them more than you like Gavin Newsom. Okay? That's what you like. That's what you like. Listen to Gavin Newsom, and then you'll see the compare and contrast. Thank you all for watching. This has been The Left Hook. There are about 2,800 people watching, which is fantastic. This might be the last one for the day. I'm really tired. I got things to do. I got to publish the stuff that I haven't published so far, and family stuff. And then also, there's apparently this snowstorm coming, so might have to go get groceries and whatnot. The Left Hook is free. There are no paywalls. Folks, I have a January special. I depend on the kindness of you. It's $3.75 a month forever. So if you join up this week, forever $3.75 a month, it goes a long way. It allows me to do all this. And just, keep at it. Thank you all for subscribing, and thank you all for who were free subscribers. And in the last month, you've switched over to paid subscribers. It's really shown, and thank you so much. I know that $5 a month might be too much for folks, but use the link at $3.75 if it helps, and it's $38 a year. We have an ice storm coming. Please be safe, folks. You're going now for shopping. Good luck. We already shopped, but just in case, I think we'll be okay. Inshallah, we'll be okay. DC, Virginia does not respond well to any crisis. I was here. If anyone's in DC, Virginia, remember that earthquake that happened 13 years ago? I swear to God, I'm from California, folks. Okay. I happened to be here for work, and there was that earthquake happening, and I'm so used to actual earthquakes happening that when it happened, I thought it was just construction on the street. I'm like, I feel a small tremor. And then everyone else was like, did you feel that earthquake? And folks, for 3 days, these people in DC, Virginia were like, where were you during that earthquake? And I was just like, weak. And people couldn't drive, and people were freaking out because it was a 4.5 earthquake. I'm like, calm down, mother effers. This is nothing. It was hilarious listening to people in DC and Virginia. Hilarious. Like, where were you during the earthquake? I was at a bar and I felt a tremor. And then you see traffic. People do not know how to drive in DC, Virginia. It's very painful. Like, literally, it was bumper to bumper. People felt like everything was being attacked. And I'm like, you just weak bureaucrats in DC. My God. I'm not talking about the DC residents and other people. There's so many, expats here. It was hilarious. Folks, I was like, bro, I was like 10 years old. I was 9 years old during the big earthquake during the World Series between the Giants and A's. Okay, that was a real earthquake. But it's so unusual, like Heidi said, for the DC, Virginia people, they just freaked out. And anything with snow, Virginia freaks out. So hopefully it's not too bad. Stay safe. This DMV freaks the F out. But it looks pretty bad, folks. So stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, take care of your neighbors. And for those who are joining us late, this is The Left Hook. I was talking to Mike Nellis, and we had a nice back and forth about where I understand where he's coming from. He's not dumb. I simply disagree. I think those are outdated politics and outdated strategy. Thank you all for watching. It's theleftook.substack.com/special, $3.75 a month. If you can, please subscribe for free. And hopefully I'll be back. If not today, maybe this weekend. And if not, there's a lot of good stuff that I'm going to post up later today. This conversation with Mike, conversation with Robbie Jones, Francesca, and Danielle. Listen to them. They're far smarter than me. Stay safe, stay home, take care of your families, be informed, and please, oh, please don't be a fascist.